Please welcome a partner session with Platform.sh.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm really excited to be with you, and I want to start this session by a quick, big shout out to our organizers. Thank you, TechCrunch, for putting such a great event together. It's great to be able to talk about these topics. Thank you. So, my name is Plais. I am not a climate expert. I am a tech CEO who cares a lot about climate. And I run a company called Platform.sh. I'd love to get the slides if possible. Platform.sh is a company of 350 people today. Our default is work from home. We work out of 37 countries and 249 cities, so we are very, very distributed as a team. And what we do is we help digital teams build web applications. Our promise to them is they spend zero time managing the infrastructure. So for them to be successful, what we do is we actually manage all the cloud infrastructures for them. Think AWS, GCP, Azure, that's what we actually manage for them. So we actually run a lot of cloud to enable our customers to succeed. I don't know if you've seen that game before. I'm a French guy, I've grown with that game. It's called pétanque. It's a fun little game where you actually play with a wooden ball called a jack. You throw it approximately 10 yards away from you, and then you try to get those iron balls as close as you can to the jack. Why am I telling you this story? Because I want to make a metaphor with running websites. So, I've built this website. It's running just fine. I got 3 servers to empower my website. And, it gets popular. And I want that website to quickly load. I want it to be super reactive. I care about making sure that people will be satisfied with the load time to first byte. So I put more resources on it. So I throw more hardware at it. I throw some metal at the website, and it gets more popular. Then it becomes really successful, and I still continue to fuel my website with more hardware. And at some point, I get racks of these iron balls. It works well. The website is performing well, but what about the environment? What about the climate impact of this hardware? Well, I guess no suspense here. There's no good impact. Throwing metal at accelerating your website is not the right way. It's not the right approach, and it's certainly not the one for the future. You probably hear from hosting providers and cloud providers that they are going to become carbon neutral, and that's great. They do a lot of efforts to actually make their data centers more efficient, perfect, and we cannot do anything else but felicitate them. But carbon is still being emitted, and we know that software is actually resource hungry, and that hardware is too cheap today. So it's easy. It's a way to just solve problems very easily and cheaply. When you look at the most dreadful hardware you can buy on AWS, the biggest, most expensive server, it costs $60 an hour. What can you do with software for $60 an hour? Maybe 20 minutes of a good developer in Silicon Valley? That's the most expensive hardware that you find on AWS. So of course, this is very cheap. And so it's an easy solution, and it's always been. So can this continue? Of course not. I'm always appalled at this graph, which shows the level of carbon emissions across the history of mankind. And this curve is like this. And we all know that before it starts to flatten and go down, this is going to take forever because, with such a steep curve, what can we expect? And we also know that actually digital activities amount for 4% of those carbon emissions. So this is as much as aviation today, and it's actually growing much faster than aviation as well. So this number, according to this research, shows that it can reach to 15% in just more than a decade. So in 2040, we may actually see 15% of the emissions coming from digital activities. So of course, we can't let this happen. And so what can we do? I think we all can do something about it, and I just want to share our experience and what we've done at Platform.sh, private company, to try and do our fair share on that topic. And So, what we've done is, first, we've recruited some climate experts. We've got Leah, who's joined our team. She's a PhD in environment. She actually participated to writing the GIEC report, so she really understands those topics very well. And she's joined us, and one of the first things we've decided to do was to actually measure, because what you cannot measure, of course, you cannot improve. So first, we did measure our carbon emissions. And two numbers came out. The first one is what's called level 1, which is our direct emissions of carbon, which is basically the amount of carbon that our teams is generating. And honestly, we're pretty good. 94 tons, which means approximately 300 kilos per person. That's actually really optimized already, because if you compare to the average American, it's 27 tons. And to the average French, it's actually 9 tons. 300K, it's nothing. And that's because we're distributed, because people work from home, they don't commute. There's no extra space for them to actually work beside their home, and we are paperless, so there's very little we can do here. So that's not what we can focus on. What we can focus on is what's called level 3, which is the carbon emissions that our customers generate by running their apps with us. So that's more indirect, but this is something we can actually make progress upon and have a huge impact. So we decided to go on 3 pillars to actually decrease that 3.8K tons, which actually, that was back in 2020. Now it's probably 10,000 tons because we're growing fast. So, what can we do? There's 3 pillars. The first one is we have decided to really optimize our cloud solution. And first thing, we want to make sure that the servers we use are really utilized. Most servers that people use, actually, are used by 15, 40% of their capacity. The issue is they don't consume 15 or 40% of energy. They actually consume 100% almost, even if they run at 10%. So you want to make sure that you utilize your resources. First thing we do. The second thing we do is we built a platform with very small containers. So all those containers are really efficient, and we're not oversizing those containers. So that's really important. We did duplicate, and with supervision, there's a ton of things we're doing, but the long story short is we actually managed to get a really good number. That's the audit that we've done with a company called Greenly, who specialized in carbon audits. We compared our customers running their applications on dedicated hardware with Kubernetes against Platform.sh, and the response is 1 to 12. So we managed to be, by just really being super focused on it, we managed to be on average 20 times better efficient than dedicated hardware. So of course, that has a first very important impact, and that's our number 1 pillar. The number 2 pillar, and I'm always amazed by this map, similar picture by the way in Europe. The diversity is really, really wide. This is probably you've seen this map before. This is the electric grid map of the US. And of course, the more brown it is, the more carbon intense it is. The greener, the better. So if you're running your apps up there or up there in Quebec, versus if you're running it in, let's say, Arizona, there's a huge difference. 553 grams per kilowatt-hour versus 37. So it's huge. It's almost 60 times difference. So if you look at picking a data center for your cloud with your cloud, look at the electric grid where this cloud is going to be running, because it's super meaningful, as you can tell, 29 grams actually. Just picking that right region is going to make a huge difference. And sometimes, the time to first byte, which is what we measure, we want those applications to be super fast. That's actually not even meaningful. So why not focus on that? And I have to say, I'm amazed that almost nobody I know, and very certainly none of our customers knew that there was a huge difference like this. So we are trying to orientate and help them decide on which cloud they want to go. So that's our number 2 pillar. And so now when they choose a region, this is our UI. They just pick a region, and we give them the carbon emissions of that specific region versus the electric grid on which it runs. So it's super easy for them to make that choice now. Number 3 pillar. As I said, the easy solution is to throw hardware at things rather than trying to optimize your code and make your application less resource hungry. That's for a reason. If you ask a developer to actually make your app faster, they don't know where to start. It's actually very tricky, There's so many reasons why your app can be really slow that for them, making the first move is hard. So you want to give them the right toolings. And so a year ago at Platform.sh, we purchased a company called Blackfire, who actually does exactly that. Blackfire looks at all the requests incoming to your web application, identifies the slowness, the ones that are really slow, and then it deep dives into those requests, into the code, to say, okay, there's a bottleneck that you can solve. And so this is how developers can very quickly just go and fix the obvious things that you can fix very quickly without spending too much time and making your app just faster. And as an example, we work with GOG.com, which is a famous game retailer online. They do more than 100 million online, and just by improving their code, they could improve the number of orders, consecutive orders, by 20 times. So no small amount again, 20 times better. So, and they didn't increase the hardware. So this is really the third pillar that we have. So, as a summary, there's at least 3 ways that we have identified to actually make your applications run faster without having to increase your footage, your carbon emissions, your servers. So density, observability, and making sure that you deploy at the right place. So, just want to end up this presentation with a message of hope, because I believe that we're not talking about improving by 10% or by small incremental improvements. We're talking big numbers here, really super big reductions. It's a multiple, it's 10x, 20x sometimes. If you combine those things together, it's even more. And it's just because we are very focused at it. And so I want to say, if we all think this is our Northern Star, if we all believe that this is a very important problem to solve, then we can really have an impact. So just want to thank you for that, for your attention. And if you want to connect with me, here's my details, and please reach out. Thank you very much.